mobile events, prints, and gaming. He holds both certification in internal system auditing from the Information System Audit Control Association and a chartered accountant designation from the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Sir, we are delighted to have you on board for today's session. Before we start, I would now like to introduce our principal, Dr. Pooja Ramchandani, whose expertise has always been our guiding light. Unfortunately, Pooja ma'am could not join us due to some prior commitments. I would now like to introduce Dr. Naveen Punjabi, Vice Principal of HR College and the Director of Placement Cell. All of us know him as a very enterprising and enthusiastic mentor with a vision to ignite minds and awaken hearts. Unfortunately, Naveen sir could not join us due to some unforeseen circumstances. Today's topic for the Pulse session is career opportunities in consulting. Sir, I would now like you to request you to address the students present in the meeting with an insightful session.
Super. Thank you for this. It's my pleasure. I'm going to share my screen. Let me know when you can see it. Hold on. My screen is not coming. There we are. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, super. So a little bit about myself. I'm a very old man. I'm 48. I am an ex-student of HR college. I passed out in 1996 and joined a company called Arthur Anderson. So very interesting. When I was in college, I was also working as a copywriter in an ad agency. And I was doing print advertising. I used to love print advertising. So I used to do print copy. It's a small agency. I had a lot of fun. I did that job along with college. And then when I got out, for some strange reason, I decided to do chartered accountancy, something I've not understood till today. And I don't know, God was very kind. I cleared my chartered accountancy in the first attempt. And then I said, now what the hell? I was with Arthur Anderson, having a lot of fun, doing some great work with some great people. And I decided that, hell, I really like advertising. I like media. So let me see if I can do some work in consulting and media. And I got out in 96 from HR. I cleared my CA in 99. I don't know, most of you probably were not born then yet. I'm right. And then since 99, I've been working only in the media space. So I decided to focus my career on one industry called media and entertainment. And yeah, since then, so what, almost 24 years that I've been working only on media and entertainment clients across a lot of fun. So I'm going to take you through a bit of my story to give you a flavor of what life in consulting is like. I'm going to talk about 5 key things you need to succeed in consulting. And along the way, please stop me whenever you like and ask whatever questions you want. Absolutely informal. We'll have a lot of fun. Okay. So without any further ado, I'm moving ahead. This is me then, and this is me now. Okay. That's 27 years in EY. That's what I look like. So you can see A, less hair, B, combed hair, C, the tie stays common, and D, a lot more weight, right? And bigger specs, fine. So that's really what it looks like from the outside, but from the inside, it looks like this. Okay, these are the kind of projects that I've been associated with. I've been delighted to be associated with since 1999 when I took over and decided to focus on media and entertainment. So you can see it's been a lot of fun. You have all the normal Disney, Star, Sony, Z, Balaji, and even you have new end companies like Jet Synthesis or Nodwin. You have old print companies like Bhaskar and Jagran and Amar Ujala and Anand Bazar Patrika. You have some very cool events. Femina Miss India, Miss World, Sunburn, IFA. You have cricket. You have Geo. You have BCCI. Right now, we are part of the project doing the media rights auction for the BCCI. We've got T10 League. I mean, it's been such a blast, right? And that's really the biggest plus of consulting, right? It is something you will 110% get much more with than if you join industry, right? So, and this is just me working in one industry called media and entertainment. right? And I can't explain my entire career in any other manner except that it is phenomenal, right? The rigor of doing a KBC and designing the process of getting participants on, or the rigor of ensuring that, when the KBC play along is happening, it's a game that I designed incidentally. It's just so much fun to do that. It's completely never done before in the world. We broke every single record. For example, when we did KBC, right? We had a target to say that you'll have 2.5 million people playing that play along game. We delivered 32 million people. All right. I mean, it was that popular a game when we created it, right? When I worked for Sunburn, we ended up saving more than 15% of the ticket value and the food and beverage sold value by preventing leakages over there. At Hathway, we were able to help Hathway is, as you know, a TV and broadband company. We were able to help Hathway grow its business and grow its revenues by increasing the amount you can bill to the end customer by trying to upsell products to them. On Saregama, we've helped them acquire music libraries. On Ananda Bazar Patrika, we've helped them evaluate new projects that they could enter into on the digital side and how do they go digital out there. We also help them with newsroom cost optimization to see how they can do things more efficiently. On Times of India, I don't know how many million projects I've done. Everything from trying to grow subscription income, trying to help them with their advertising, cutting their costs, helping them with controls, internal audit. I mean, you name it, we've done work over there. On Sony, right now, we are helping them with their digital and online gaming strategy, for example, right? On the IPL, we helped Viacom bid for the digital rights, which they bought at an exorbitant price, right? Of 25,000 odd crores. We helped one of the Sanjeev Goenka group bid for a team and built the entire business plan to say, if you invest so much in a team, how will you monetize that over the next 10 years? When will you break even? My most interesting project, Femina Miss India, it was done absolutely randomly, and we were called in one day and said, guys, you have to put a process to this, because how do you evaluate women and beauty? That was really the brief. I have never done a project like that. So we actually went and studied all the Miss Worlds and the Miss Universes and actually came down and said, okay, this is the process we're going to follow for determining how scoring happens in Femina Miss India. We helped on the T10 league to actually build the entire business plan and say, someone's coming and saying, I'm going to do a 10 over series. It's never been done before in the world. How are we going to take a T20 league, make it a T10 league? What kind of audience will watch it? What will be the cost of production? What will be the monetization avenues? We'll have fewer breaks between overs, so the revenue will be lower. Will it break even? Will it not break even? How should we distribute it? How should we market it? How should we sell the teams? Will it even make sense for a team to invest, someone to buy a team and run it? So I think you can see that the amount of depth that is there just in one industry vertical, like media and entertainment, which is what I've done, is what is the most fascinating thing about consulting. And it's not easy, I'll come to that, but it is a lot of fun. So when you're evaluating whether you want to look at consulting or you want to go to industry and work with one of these companies, for example, you will go far deeper. If you join Jet Synthesis, you will go very, very deep within Jet Synthesis. If you join Hathway or Viacom or Sony or Disney, you will go very, very deep into what they do. Consulting, on the other hand, gives you a far wider remit. All right. So I hope that point is like this, that consulting is really about a much wider remit. It's a lot more fun. There's a lot more variety. That makes it a lot more difficult as well. All right. But what is consulting? Like, I've given you examples of what I've done, but I want to know what you think. What is consulting? So if you have your phones with you, I'd like you to scan that barcode or just go to slido.com on your phone and put in this code 64049 and give me your answers. What do you think? What do you think consulting is? Is it all about giving gyan? Is it about future gazing? Is it about solving your client's problems? Is it about providing additional hands and legs to clients who don't have them? Or is it about helping clients increase their profits? What do you think consulting is about? I'll give you a minute.
Sir, it's all of them.
It's all of them. So you take one that you think is most appropriate for you. Okay, we've got 25 responses in. Great. Okay, I think we've reached a kind of, stable thing with 92 now responses. Okay, so let me take you through each of these. I think you got it right. It's mainly about solving problems. I think the way you look at a consulting career is like it's like being a doctor, right? So when you feel ill, when you fall ill, you actually go to a doctor. And the doctor understands your problem and diagnoses it and then tries to solve it. And that's exactly what consulting is. It's about solving problems. The problems obviously are not health problems. They're problems around revenue, around market share, about market reputation, about growth, about cost management, about people management. It's about all those kind of problems that companies face. And I would say 90% of the projects that you will do will be helping your client solve some problem or the other. And that therefore requires a very different mindset. It's a very problem-solving mindset that you need to have to actually add value to your clients, right? And why do I say that's important? Because a consultant is as good or bad as the last project they do for their client. If you fail in a project, chances are the client will not come back. Just like if a doctor doesn't solve your problem and cure you, you will not go back to the doctor, right? And therefore that puts a lot of stress on the consultant to always be delivering value, always be solving problems. But let's look at some of the others also. Providing additional hands and legs to clients, that also happens a lot in IT consulting, where people need, say, coders or developers or someone to project manage something because they don't have that skill set in the organization. But this is something that some of the smaller firms use more than the larger firms. The larger firms tend to invest in those resources themselves and build out themselves. But some of the smaller firms can't afford the quality resources, and therefore they come to consultants and say, you work with us and get things done. Helping clients increase profits is a subset of solving problems, if you ask me, because many clients come to you and say, guys, I'm making losses, help me cut costs, right? Help me grow my revenues, help me improve my profits. I think that really works beautifully. So yes, that is definitely what you will do. Is it about giving gyan? It certainly isn't. Not anymore. It used to be 20 years ago. But now all the gyan is available for free and it's online. And therefore, it's never about giving gyan. It's not about coming in like what I'm doing right now, giving gyan. It's not about that. All right, it's about going and helping you specifically solve a problem. But yes, it is also about future gazing. I think that's something that I've realized is one of the most important things that clients value. When you go to a client and say, this is my point of view of where your industry or your business is heading. These are the opportunities. These are the risks. This is how you need to, what can you do to optimize your value, your revenues, your costs, etc. And in terms of what's happening next. I think that is something they always appreciate. So if I were to rank these on importance, I would say solving problem is number one. And number two is about future gazing. And that's really what being a consultant is all about. Any thoughts on this? Anybody? Any questions? Any thoughts? Just unmute yourself and talk to me.
Sir, this section is about the consultant companies like McKinsey, BCG, like.
Yeah, all of them. BY, Deloitte, PwC, McKinsey, Bain, Arthur Bailey, all of them. We're all doing the same thing.
And you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Sir, I have a question if I may.
Yes, please.
Sir, like you said that if a consultant performs badly, then the client will not return.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, if you perform too well, then also the client may not return.
Why is that? They love you, no? If you add value to their lives, they'll give you another project. All depends on how you say you perform too well. If Performing well means A, did you solve my problem? Correct? I wasn't able to grow. Are you now giving me the right advice to help me grow? Perfect. You will grow. And then he'll come back and say, okay, now help me with something else. I'm planning to expand into Europe. Help me with that. How should I enter this market? Or you come back and say, okay, I've grown now my costs have gone up. Help me with cutting my costs down. There's always more and more. You do good work. And Harsh, very good question. Okay. You do good work, they will come back for more. Right? It's amazing how many consultants gets hired by industry eventually. All right, because they see this guy, he's like a problem-solving mindset, he's helping me grow my market share or revenue or whatever. They will come back and get you. And they'll come back again and again and again.
So,
In
sir,
fact,
in other words, the problems never end.
yeah, you could look at that, or you could say the opportunity is unending. Let me put it in a more positive manner. All right. So, some of those names on that list, like Times of India, I've been working with them since 2000. Okay. Star, I've been working with them since 1999. If you look at Viacom, I've been working with them since 2001, 2002, right? Each of these clients, Z, 99, 2000 onwards, every year I do 1 or 2 or 10 projects for these companies, right? I just finished 10 years at Balaji. I hadn't realized, my client realized, and we had a small party, right? Saying, guy, you've been working 10 years for us now. It's a relationship. All right. You build a relationship with a client. The more you work with a client, the more you understand how a company works. What is the promoter's mindset? And that is what helps you even adding even more value to them, because you know what will go with, how it will work. Will it work in their environment? It's not a generic recommendation. You can customize it, so, clients appreciate that you've been here for a long time and you actually, understand us well, and therefore you can guide us better. So I think it's very important to keep doing good work. But the problem is, even with these clients, if you mess up, next time they may say, okay, let me also get someone else to pitch for the project. Right? So then that's the thing. But if you do good work, they just won't go anywhere else. They will keep coming back to you. Any other thoughts on this? What is consulting?
So I have a question. Does
Yes.
all of these problems only include finance or revenue problems, or you solve like management issues also?
Okay. Again, Paridhi, very good question. What do you think management issues are? What is management evaluated on? What do you think the principal of HR college is evaluated on? Let's go there. Come on, answer. Don't worry.
So may I?
Paridhi, are you there?
Yes. Basically, how she can manage different various degrees at the same time and encourage the students to do better is how you can see how efficient ma'am is.
Yeah, and that would imply what? That the better the
The
students, the happier the
ethical point of
students.
view.
Yeah, it would be far better if, for the college, that the students prosper. When the students prosper, more admissions happen, revenues go up, the college makes a profit, etc. So any organization which is not an NGO, all right, will be evaluated on revenue, market share, and profit. Right? Any organization, you take LG, which makes refrigerators and washing machines, or you take TCS, which does coding, or you take EY, which does consulting, or you take HR college, which does education. There is 3 and only 3 things that you're evaluated on. Management, non-management doesn't matter. Revenue, market share, profitability. All right. So I think, however oh God, what happened? All right. So I think that anything is about that. And therefore, with the way you put it, is it always financial? Eventually, it does get down to financial in most cases. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you,
Yeah.
sir.
Okay. Sorry, Pratiksha, you had something to ask?
No, sir. I was just mentioning that the ethical point of view of a principal or any other business is also evaluated.
It is. And that's very important, because the minute that goes, what will happen? Admissions will drop, right?
Yeah.
Correct. And therefore revenue will drop. So you can pretty much link everything back to those 3: market share, revenue, and profitability. Okay. Any other
Yes, sir.
questions on this? Okay, then I'll move on. So what is consulting? Consulting is very vast. All right. If you look at it, you will see that there is consulting around growth and strategy. There's finance. There's marketing consulting, very important now, on how to spend marketing spends. India spends 1 lakh crore rupees a year on advertising. Right? Is how to make sure that I'm spending that 1 lakh crores a year efficiently. Supply chain, how do I procure raw materials, manufacture them, deliver them to where the consumer is, right? And do that efficiently. How I do consumer interaction. First is marketing attracts them, then the whole buying journey, and then after the purchase happens, what is the customer journey out there? And then, of course, the new hot buzzword, ESG, right? Environment, sustainability, and governance, right? Is the company working with a good ESG model or framework? We do lots of projects in EY around ESG for some of the largest companies, the Tatas and Birlas and the Vedantas. All of them are building out their ESG strategies right now. Then, of course, IT, right? Every company now runs on technology. You can't have a company which is just sitting there and living without an ERP system or sitting without any kind of technology. There are very, very few companies like that. Right? Perhaps the Mumbai Dabbawalas, if at all. I don't know. So, every company needs IT. So what IT to have, how to run it, how to design it, how to ensure everyone gets information they need to take decisions and do their work, all very important. And finally, of course, mergers and acquisitions. Which company should I acquire to grow bigger, or should I divest a certain company so that it can perform better on its own, right? There's a lot of advisory around that. So pretty much anything you can think of, with the exception of audit and tax, is probably consulting. It's a very, very vast field. Any thoughts on this? You think I've missed out anything? I have missed out one important thing. What do you think that is?
Supply chain.
Supply chain is there right in the middle. What have I missed out? What's that one massive thing that I missed out?
Tax and audit.
That's on the top right. I'm saying take that out.
HR.
HR, manpower, massive area, isn't it? Yes, right? And that's another very important piece that's happening within every organization. Because every year there's inflation, which means every year your salary has to go up by at least that 5-6% of inflation that's happening in the country, right? Why have I kept it out of consulting? Should it be included in consulting? Manpower as an area?
Yes.
Yes. So why have I kept it out?
Sir, because all these topics fall under tax and audit, and manpower is a separate.
None of this falls under tax and audit. I've shaded tax and audit. उसको दूर रखो. वो देखो मत वो consulting नहीं है.
Okay, all right, sir.
Sir, because that's what HR department is for.
HR department is for, but HR is a huge field, right? Right now. So why don't I consider HR consulting as part of consulting when I talk about it? Anyone think about this?
HR is the beginning, actually.
HR is the beginning, yes, but go deeper. Okay, I'll tell you why. It's a tough answer. When I say tax and audit, what am I talking about? I am talking about living by a book of rules. For tax, there's something called an Income Tax Act, right? There is a Goods and Services Tax Act. For audit, there's something called Accounting Principles and Auditing Practices. These are codes, guidelines. Everything we do in tax and audit has to do with mugging up those guidelines and implementing them. And you can use a lot of creativity in that too. But it's basically living by a set of rules. The blue areas on this sheet are consulting. There is no rule book in consulting. Okay, there is absolutely no book that says, Acha, you want to do supply chain, then these are the 5 principles that you must follow. There is nothing like that, which makes consulting extremely creative an activity. Because you've got to first go and understand the problem. Then you've got to go and figure out why it's going wrong. And then you've got to go and find a solution for it, which you may not find anywhere. Because every company is unique. Why have I excluded human resources? Because human resources looks at a third vector, which is called the psychology, the sociology of an individual. because you're dealing with people. You're not dealing with a machine, an IT system, or a process, or a book of rules. You're dealing with human beings. And in my mind, HR consulting is something that is completely driven by human psychology. And therefore, people who want to get in there should first do human psychology and then go in. Of course, it has a creative element of glue in it as well. But tax and audit is all principles. Consulting is completely off, no rule book, completely creative. Manpower is all about human psychology. Got that? Understood? Can I proceed? Any questions? Okay, great. Now, this is very interesting. We work for clients, right? Consultants work for clients. But the जीवन का अटूट सच or consulting का अटूट सच is 95% of clients know more than the consultant. Now imagine yourself, you guys are coming out of college, you want to join consulting. You're all of 20 years old or 22 years old or whatever it is. You go to meet your first client. Say you go to someone in Tata Motors who's been building trucks for the last 30 years. Do you think you will ever know more than that man about how to build a truck? I seriously doubt it.
No.
Right? And therefore, it's very important to know this, that when you do consulting, you start at a huge disadvantage. The people you meet will always know more than what you know. All right. But I've said 95% because you get 5% idiots. All right. So I'm saying keep those 5% out. The interesting thing is that even though there's 95% who will always know more than you, and this is 5% who know less than you, all of them don't want to be told what to do. That's another consulting life truth, if I may call it that way. Nobody likes to be told what to do, right? Everyone thinks they're doing a damn good job. Nobody likes to be told, especially by a young fresher. Like when I came out of HR college and I started working on consulting, I think my first project was with Star, it was KBC. KBC was coming in 1999, and my first media project was with KBC. The client was, I was dealing with Peter Mukherjee out there. All right. I mean, he was my client. Am I going to tell Peter Mukherjee how to run a reality TV show? Right? Very difficult, right? Tell him what to do and what not to do. Extremely difficult things happening, right? So, I mean, that's something I've learned, that one of the biggest problems is that nobody wants to be told what to do. But you've been hired by the top management to tell them what to do, because top management feels you know more than they do, right? And therefore, what is this all about? Consulting is all about managing people, right? And the best way to manage people. Can anyone tell me what's the best way to manage people? What does it take for you to manage people? Anybody?
Communication skills.
Yes. What else?
Establishing trust.
Sir,
Pardon?
Patience.
Teamwork.
Operation. Yes.
Listening to the other
Empathy.
person first.
Listening. Yes. Very good.
So
What else?
putting, putting their needs before ours.
That you have to do whether you like it or not. You're clearly not married. You don't have a wife. So you're saying all this. Yeah. Clients are like wives. They win always. Okay. What else?
Establishing that trust.
Very good point. You're establishing trust. How do you establish trust?
Fulfilling their promises.
Yes, you never lie to a client. You deliver on your commitments. But let's take this back to my doctor's example. Suppose you get a pain in your leg. You go and you choose a certain doctor that you're going to, right? What is the basis on which you're choosing the doctor?
Difference. Empathy.
Speciality in which one?
Qualified.
Speciality. That's the word I was looking for. Speciality, right? You choose a leg doctor, right? If your leg is paining. Correct? You will not choose a neurosurgeon.
Orthopedic type.
Correct. You'll go to an orthopedic doctor because when your leg is paining, you won't go to an eye specialist, right? With your leg is paining, correct? So now as a consultant, why do they choose us? Why do clients choose us? When will a client want to listen to me?
Sharing empathy.
Empathy तो you're watching too much Netflix. वो बाद में आता है.
When
अच्छा,
I'm specialized in what their problem is.
correct. We need to be specialized in one. How will we be specialized in what their problem is? We've just come out of college.
Successful projects.
Experience.
Experience, very important. Whoever said that, hats off. Clients want to work with people who have experience. How do you want to get experience? You've just come out of college.
By working.
By working. So where will you work?
Internships.
Internship के बाद क्या करोगे?
Placements, jobs.
Placements, jobs. Correct. So the key word that I was looking for here, honestly.
Or starting a new business.
Start a new business. The best thing you guys can do is not get a job. Don't be consultants. Go to a startup. Make all the mistakes in the world. Trust me, that's a damn good option in life. You know, but if you can. But I'm telling you something very important here. That it's exactly how you go to a doctor. They come to you when they believe that you have the adequate knowledge to solve their problem. And the key word I'm using is knowledge. And knowledge comes with experience. Right? So therefore, I'm going to make a very weird statement. Okay? All of you guys want to be strategy consultants, right? Operating consultants, strategy consultants, some really fancy names like that, right? None of you will be consultants until you're 40. Because till then, you will just keep learning and building your experience. Once you're 40, you will realize that people will ask you your opinion. They'll realize that you come with lots of experience. And you genuinely, in my mind, become a true strategy consultant after you're 40. And there are a lot of guys who join immediately and go join McKinsey and Accenture and EY and Deloitte and do, believe they do strategy consulting. I think it's a lie propagated by all of us consulting firms. But the reality is that consulting is all about knowledge. And if you don't have the knowledge, you should not give advice because you can probably do more harm than do good. And therefore, the next 20 years of your career after you leave HR is going to be about building your knowledge so that you have enough to go out there finally and become a consultant. Okay. Any thoughts on this horrible statement I just made? Did I just break 1,000 hearts or whatever? Something like that. Or crash 1,000 dreams?
But this is true. Even I have experienced this.
Yeah.
I'm working in the same industry
Yeah,
right
I
now.
didn't have age like trust with the doubt.
Yeah, so it's a very important thing. Don't rush into consulting. Don't expect that on day one you're going to be the star performer consultant, right? You're in a learning phase for many, many years. More than a decade, you will be in a learning phase. And only then will you have enough knowledge and experience to genuinely be a true consultant. Why the hell otherwise will a client come and listen to you if you don't have the knowledge he needs? Correct? And if you think that school and college give you the knowledge required to be a consultant, please think again. All right. You don't even have 10% of what it takes. And that's reality. It's not about HR college or Harvard. It's as much to do with IIT, IIM, Harvard, anywhere, ISB, whatever you talk about. It's all the same. When we hire at EY, we literally retrain every employee for over a year. And that's when we get comfy that they're ready to, go on field and add value. Till then, they're doing small jobs, they're getting to understand how the firm works, they get to understand how consulting works, how clients work. It's all about learning, intense learning. Then after 2-3 years, you can see people start thinking, they start figuring out what is consulting and so on and so forth. So again, the thought I want to leave you out here is that it's all about knowledge. It's all about experience. You can't jump in and be a consultant in day one. Please remember, you may be called consultant when you join Accenture or Mac or BCG or whatever, EY, but it takes time and it's a very, very long learning career before you actually get to the level where people ask you for your advice. Okay, I'm moving on. So if you want to be successful, what does it take? I'm going to talk about 5 important things. We've broadly touched on knowledge because who knows most about a client's business? The client. Right now, I put these 4 photographs. This is a book I release every year. And as you know, I'm a media sector guy, right? I work only in media and entertainment. I release this book every year on the media and entertainment sector. It talks about television and OTT, digital, out of home, radio, newspapers, movies, animation, VFX, gaming, billboards, whatever, music industry, you name it. We talk about all of that, social media, news. right? You know what it takes to get each book out? I start in September. I issue my book in March. Okay, this last one is the top right. That's the 2023 release in March. All right, with the Elephant Whisperers picture on it, right? I actually go and meet one-on-one 75 CEOs in the media industry. I interview them. I understand what's going on the ground. It's like the best part of my year. All right. It's like doing an MBA every year for me. Every one of these books is like my personal little MBA that I've done. And every year I've gone, I've understood trends, I've built my knowledge base. And because of that, I can release a book like this every year. It's all free for download. You can go to EY and go into sectors or industries in media, and you'll see all of this there. You can download it if you ever get bored and can't sleep at night. It's great reading. But a good consultant, according to me, is someone who's extremely passionate about knowledge. All right. You make that effort to actually go and meet all the CEOs. And apart from that, to read and read and read every day and build your knowledge, because that's how you keep ahead of that 95% of clients who know more than you, right? I don't know if you guys will agree to this, but I work in media. I read a book called Satellite and Cable TV, SCAT magazine, to understand what's happening in broadband and television. I read something called Soundbox to understand what's happening in the music industry. I read Inma's newsletter for what's happening in the publishing world, printing. I read DigiDay and a couple of others to understand what's happening in OTT and digital. I read something about radio. I read something about out of home. It's called Outdoor Asia. I read and read and read and read. And unless I read all that, you cannot get the knowledge that's required to actually be a consultant. You have to be ahead of the curve, and not just reading, but after I read, I ingest, I create a point of view, right? And then I go, like we said, it's all about forward gazing, right? I go and say, okay, if this is happening, this is how I feel the industry is going to move. And that's the conversation I have with my clients, because they also want to understand from me, where do I think the industry is going? And then we have a meaningful discussion, and we help our clients get ready for the future in that sense. So it's all about building knowledge. Even today, I spend at least half an hour a day, every day, to build my knowledge and keep up to date. And if you want to be a consultant, you have to promise yourself that's what you will do. If you can't build your knowledge, you are a doctor without the required skill sets, you will fail as a consultant. So most important point, build your knowledge. Any questions on this? Simple point.
If 95% of clients know more than a consultant, so why will clients hire consultants?
Very good question. I was hoping someone would ask this question. That those clients know about the industry, but what do they know about? Because they spent 30 years in Tata Motors. What do they know? They know Tata Motors. Correct? As consultants, we also know how Renault works and how Hyundai works and how Maruti works and how all the others work and how foreign companies work as well, because we read and we update our knowledge and we keep reading and reading and reading and learning. And we work across many, many clients. In doing so, we build a very different perspective, a much wider perspective of the industry trends, a much wider perspective of what are best practices, a wider perspective on what's the future going to look like, because we're looking at it across many, many segments, right? And that's why we bring that width to the client, and that's why they work with us. So it's very important that you keep your knowledge up so that you have that wider perspective. Otherwise, honestly, the client's not going to find any value in you as a consultant.
The client knows only about his business.
Yeah, they know about their business. We know about the industry overall, right?
Thank you.
Yeah, very important. Very good question. Any other questions on this?
Sir, I have a question. Sir, based on your answer to the Rahil's question, can companies also worry about, like, you will take the information that you know about them and apply to another company, maybe their competitor?
They do worry about that a lot. And if you do it, you will lose your job. You will absolutely lose your job. All right. So, but the reality is you don't need to share, because what works at company A will not work at company B, right? Because they have a different culture, they have different processes, they have different policies, they have a different business objective, right? If you look at Maruti and you look at Hyundai, what's the key difference? Maruti makes smaller, more affordable cars. Hyundai is far more premium priced. Even for the same similar competing products, they have a higher price. They're a more evolved manufacturer. Maruti is more basic. What works at Maruti may not work at, you may do a cost reduction and say Maruti doesn't use high touch, soft plastics. It uses rough, hard plastics. That won't work in Hyundai. Because Hyundai says, no, Mike, I charge a premium. I want to charge a premium. I have to invest in better quality, right? I'm just giving a very simple example, right? And therefore, it's all about understanding concepts and applying it to different companies in a manner that it suits them best. Sharing is a very bad thing in my mind. Okay. Any other questions on this? Okay, let me go ahead. So one was knowledge, and that's the most important. Two is about people skills. All right. Someone said empathy. Someone said listening. Someone said, just talking with respect. I heard all this on the call earlier today. And consulting is basically about telling someone they're wrong, right? Because they're doing something and we are going to tell them how to do it better, right? How to increase revenue, how to cut cost, how to increase market share. That's the job of a consultant. Those are the three things you're doing. So in effect, you're going from a starting point to tell somebody how to do something better. A, they don't like you. B, you've been hired by their boss, not them. And you're being pushed on them and you're taking up their time. C, you're telling them what a bad job they're doing. And D, you're telling them, okay, stop doing this, do it this way. So in consulting, there's always this natural barrier that people don't want to be told what to do, right? And therefore, people skills are very important. But how will you get someone to open up and listen to you? What will it take? Again, I'm coming back to fundamentals. Anyone, right? You've met someone at this company who's been doing his job for 20 years in a bank, say, right? And you're going and telling him how to handle his treasury better. Why will he ever listen to you?
Specialization.
Yeah, so go deeper into that, Sakshi. What do you mean by specialization?
So trying to make sure that you have the same interests as the other person, as the person you're talking to or you're consulting to. Trying to build a conversation through that.
Very important what you said. I had a client at Radio Mirchi and, he once told me that, Ashish, I have to tell you, you give us recommendations, we only implement about 1 out of 3. And I said, boss, what is this? Boss, we've been working for like 10, 12 years and now you're telling me 2/3 of what I tell you is all rubbish, right? He said, yeah, but that doesn't matter. That gets us thinking. And the 1/3 is also not the issue. Even if it's lower, we would still work with you. I said, why? So he said, because when you come and you speak to us, you're always using stuff like, let us do this. Why don't we think of this? Why don't we do, things like that? It makes us feel that you're one of us, that you're not an outsider, you're not a consultant, that you're one of us. It seems always that you have our interests at heart. So building trust, somebody said that earlier as well. Someone said you have to build that trust with them. When they trust you, they will start opening up. And there are 2-3 ways of building trust, very important. One, share knowledge, help them, right? And when they realize that, you have knowledge, and you're willing to share it with them, they love you for it. That starts building the trust. Second, when they call, respond. Answer your phone. If they send an email, reply back immediately. When they call you for a meeting, try and go or coordinate and make sure that you end up going soon. Then they feel that, yeah, we are important for him and he's coming to us and he wants to work with us. That also builds trust. And 3, when you're delivering a project, do it dil laga ke and deliver value. When you do that, then you build the trust. And that's the people skill starts with it's all about building trust. If you can build the trust with the client, they will come back to you and work with you again and again and again. And even if you, like in my case, even though I wasn't doing a great job, which is 1/3 success rate, they kept coming back to me and did not work with anyone else because they said, this guy's on our side, boss. He won't hurt us in any manner. So people skills led by trust, very, very important. Any thoughts on this? No? Okay, let me move on. Point 3. Okay, there's a thought. Bolo.
Sir, I don't understand this slide.
You didn't understand the slide as in? What's the question?
Means what are you telling by this slide?
I'm telling you that if you are a consultant, you need a lot of people skills for people to even listen to what you have to say. All right. You've got to convince them you're on their side. Then they'll even open up about their problems to you. And only once they open up about these problems can you actually go and address those problems. So consultant is not about coming from an attitude saying, I'm a consultant, I've come from IIM Ahmedabad, I'm God's gift to mankind, or I have phenomenal knowledge. That's not what it takes. You can have the best knowledge in the world. But unless you have people skills, people will not open up to you and they will not listen to you when you're talking to them. Have I explained it now? Of why consulting is so different and difficult?
Yes, thank you, sir.
Yes, that's what this slide is about. Okay. It's about partnerships. All right. Consulting is all about partnerships. If you see the three circles, right? It's me and the client and the firm, the three circles, right? The client and you need to be on the same side of a table. Otherwise, no project is going to work. He needs to trust you. You need to trust them, the client. And together, he will tell you the internal dynamics of the company. You will give the leading practices from outside. That is one important partnership between you and the client, the consultant and the client. Then there is a partnership between you as a consultant and the firm, in my case, EY. There are so many times when clients come to me and say, I need help in tax, or I need help in supply chain, or I need help on my people ESOP plan. I have none of that knowledge, right? But my job is to get the right people from EY to come in front of the client, right? Or sometimes what happens is we are doing, say, a simple job. We're doing a process for, say, advertising, ad sales that Star TV does or Z does or whatever, right? And they're saying, come and review our process. At that time, I go with my knowledge, but the firm has a lot more knowledge than I have. Correct? The firm has 40,000 people in India, in EY, right? They have a knowledge. It's about getting the best of that firm's knowledge also. You go meet the right people, understand what are some of the leading practices, do your research and bring the power of the firm. That's the second partnership between the consultant and the firm. It's not about doing it alone. It's never about doing it alone. You must partner with bring the best knowledge from your firm into the client. And the third is the client and the firm itself, right? Are you taking all the services of the firm into the client? And does the client know who are the key people in the firm? There's a big, important relationship issue that happens with clients, right? The client is only doing, say, audit with you and doing nothing else, or he's only doing consulting and nothing else. That itself is an issue. There's a huge need for the client to see the firm and say, oh, these guys do audit, they do tax, they do consulting, they do people services, supply chain, blah, blah, blah. That's the third partnership, of how you get the client to integrate with the firm. Are you taking top management to meet the client? Are you showing them all the services that the firm does? When they have any needs, are you putting the right people in front of them? Right? So it's all about time. You're not alone in consulting. You have a lot of help within all of the firms, whether it's EY, KPMG, Deloitte, McKinsey, whatever. All of them, there's a large firm with large pools of knowledge. And by partnering with the firm, by partnering with the client, you will be able to deliver success. You are not a lone ranger. It's not only on you. You have to partner and the value will get delivered. Any questions on this? It's a very simple point, but an extremely important point, that you have a lot of help when you come into consulting. Any thoughts?
Basically, it would be better if the client has all the resources from a similar firm, because it becomes good for the consulting person to, at least understand the whole process. If he only knows that he's doing only audit, but he doesn't know what the backstory is, which some other firm is doing, so he'll get into trouble. So the firm tries to attract the client more towards him to make him understand that we do all of this, and then tries to build that three relation together.
Yeah. And just around that, I'm a consulting partner, but I have clients who only do tax or audit with EY. They don't do consulting with EY because they love the way that we do audit and tax, right? But I still handle that relationship with the client to make sure the client stays with EY, right? It's so important. Anything else on this? Okay, let's move on. The fourth out of 5 is it's about creativity, right? Like I said, there is no rule book in consulting. There's no one place you can go and say, how do I do consulting? There's nothing like that. It's about you going and using your left side of the brain, using logic, you understanding the problem, the science, the time and motion study, all of that stuff, right? To understand the problem. But the solution is normally never logical. It's not only logic based. Let me put it back. You have to have a bit of creativity in you. And that's what makes consulting so much fun and also extremely challenging. I've seen a lot of people take up consulting, like me, chartered accountants, extremely logical animals, all right? But fail miserably because they don't have creative thinking capabilities. What did I do during my college? I used to write copy for newspaper advertising. I started in advertising. I did a CA. I am today telling you that there is almost no client of mine that I will not use both my creative brain and my logical brain on. Right? Every time, you go and understand the problem and you say, oh, wow, this is the problem. Right? It takes you have to really think out of the box to solve it. Because if it was only logic, everyone is logical. The client's person would know it's logical and he has to solve it. They would solve it themselves. Right? I'll give you an example. A very interesting example. We had a problem, and okay, let me go back to my first job, KBC. Right? This was a time before mobile phones. This was on landline. All right. You had to call a number to register to say, I want to play KBC. But we needed to know whether you were male or female, which city you were living in, and what was your age, so that because we had quotas around all that. You can't put everyone in the show from Bombay, or only people from South, or only people from North. You had to make sure there was a mixture. So for that, we were asking questions using an IVR system, saying what is, if press 1 for male, press 2 for female. To get all the answers we needed, we ended up asking 18 questions. Nobody's going to answer 18 questions on an IVR system. That was the problem that started the whole KBC project for me. Incidentally, I do KBC even today. I've been doing it since 1999. We're still involved with KBC, though it's moved from Star to Sony now, right? So the client came to us and said, this aspect, I can't have 18 questions, but I need the data. I need all this data. I can't do 18 questions. Nobody will answer. Then we'll have a mess. We'll have only women coming, or only men coming, or only South Indians coming, or only Bengalis coming, or whatever, right? So help me solve that. It took us 2 weeks to solve that problem of intense brainstorming and thinking. And we finally got it down to only 3 questions that they had to answer. But that was creative thinking at its absolute best, if you ask me. It was a team effort. We took so much time just to solve that one problem. It sounds very small, but it took 2 weeks of time of 3 people, almost full time, working on just that one problem. We put ideas, we tried, we tested, we tried again, we redid it. It was so much fun just doing that. The creativity that we finally went into it was mind-blowing. And we finally went back to the client and showed him why he did not need some of the information pieces that he needed then. We could get it later for him. And we then showed him how, for the balance, we could only do it with 3 questions. That solved the problem. So it's not only logic, it's also very creative thinking. And trust me, every problem the client will give you will require creativity. So if you're going into consulting, you need to be logical. You also need to be able to think out of the box if you want to be a successful consultant. Any thoughts on this? Any creative thoughts on this from your end? No? Okay. Last point. All right. Consulting is about focus. As we discuss specialization, the specialist gets the premium. When your eye is a problem, you go to an eye specialist. You don't go to a GP. Correct? When your heart is a problem, you go to a heart surgeon. You don't go to a general practitioner, MBBS. Correct? Specialist. So, you can specialize in various ways. You can say, I will work only on efficiency. And I can work on efficiency across media and telecom and FMCG and whatever, tech companies and whatever. Or I will work only on people consulting. And I will work only on media and this across people consulting. Or you can say, I will only do one industry. All right. I will only do media and entertainment. I'll only do telecom. I will only do technology. I'll only do manufacturing. Right? That's also a specialization. This is also a specialization. But more and more, I'm realizing that specialization is becoming that one little X. Now we have in consulting one person who focuses only on media and entertainment efficiency, or SAP only in FMCG companies or retail companies only. Right? That's the level of specialization which this industry is going towards right now. Because that is what clients are expecting. So tomorrow when, say, Google has a problem in its people, it will come to EY and say, I expect you to have a people expert who understands digital media. And that is what will win us the project. So we are building specialization at that level. Even for you guys, when you get into your career, for the first 2-3 years, you will try various things. You'll have 20 X's on this. You'll work on whichever project comes to your mind on this grid. But after a while, it has to start coming down to 1 or max 2 X's. And your career will build on that 1 or 2X. So you have to figure out where you want to specialize. I was very lucky. In 99, I decided I'm focusing on media. right? I was told to do telecom because telecom was booming that time. I was told if you do telecom, you'll make partner much faster in EY. I said, boss, I enjoy media. I don't care if I take longer. I only want to do media. And I'm lucky. EY let me do that. You know, they said in 99, they said, chalo tu ye Ashish pagal hai, usko media karne do, jo karne ka karega. Right? It was a very small practice. Nobody cared a damn. I said, I enjoy it. I love it. I want to focus on this. So since then, I must have worked with more than 200 media companies. All right. I don't know. I've lost count. Right? But that focus of just doing media is what makes it so exciting and makes me so relevant to my clients. Right? So again, the fifth and most important point is go very heavy on specialization. It's not about width. It's about focus. Over time, the width comes narrows, and start focusing. Then you become a true consultant. I had an example that my dad, you know, he used to be the CEO of this company, Hindustan Pencils, which makes Natraj and Apsara pencils. You would have heard of them, right? He said, I'm hiring someone to do R&D for me. So I said, what are you hiring? Like, you know, pencil making, there are like 5 companies in the world that are large. So how do you get people? He's saying, no, we have identified a person who's a specialist in making pencils from hardwood and not softwood. I said, Aisa bhi hota hai? He said, yes. So this guy's entire career was focused on only one thing. I will be able to help my clients make pencils out of hardwood, which is very difficult, and not out of softwood. Why? Because government of India has prohibited softwood to be used for making pencils. So the company was struggling. It went to that level of specialization. They found a guy who said only job in his entire career was making pencils from hardwood. And they got him and they used him for that. So that's the level of specialization in industry. That's what a true consultant is, right? You know it. You own that space, right? Okay, let's move on. So what's the right career path? Okay, another question for you guys. Should you go first into consulting and then go into industry? Should you go first into industry and then go into consulting? Or should you first go into industry, then join a startup and then go to consulting? Tell me. Okay, we have 16 responses in 20. Okay, I'm going to move on. So I think we've got a pretty decent trend. You guys believe we should first go to industry, then join a startup, and then go into consulting. Tell me why.
For experience.
What gives you the experience?
Sir, may I?
Yes.
Sir, because failure teaches us more.
Very true. I was a very good student, failed a lot.
Startup can give you an experience to build it from the scratch, then that can guide you about the consulting processes and all this.
Very true. I like the first one. I like what you have chosen. Because personally, if I go into industry, I'll figure out how large companies work. Right? With that knowledge of what it takes to succeed, I go and do my own startup in a certain field because I found a gap in that industry. I create a startup in that industry. I try my hand at building something myself, get my hands dirty, roll my sleeves up, figure out something. Right? After getting the gyan of working in a large organization and doing a startup, I will perhaps be the best consultant over there. At, you know, completely in because I would have done it, I would have guided it. I have all the knowledge of how it works in a big organization, a small organization, with more funds in industry versus a bootstrapped startup. It's very important. All that experience and knowledge will make me an excellent consulting. But not everyone wants to do startup. In that case, I always suggest first spend time in industry, like maybe 10, 15 years in industry, then join consulting. That's how I would guide you. But doing consulting and moving into industry is almost a sure sign of failure in my life, in my mind, right? Because you will have your first part of your career will be, like I said, wide, because as a consultant, you will have a lot of width of experience, but you lack the depth required for industry. And therefore, the chances of failing are slightly higher if you follow that last part of consulting and then industry. And therefore, I love the first one. If you can do industry, startup, consulting, fascinating. You can't do startup industry because you do a startup, chances are very few people in industry will hire you in some fields. There's a bit of a risk. But if you can do startup, industry, consulting, that's also okay in my mind. All right, I'll move on. Any questions on this? No? Okay. How's the moolah in consulting? I'm sure all of you want to know, right? So actually, you start off much higher than industry in consulting. You have a good package when you join consulting. But after 3 years and until 15, you are actually lower than industry. But then after that, once you make partner, after 18 years or whatever, if you'll be partner in EY or Accenture or whatever, then you are back again on par with industry. So why would anyone do this? Why would anyone join consulting? A lot of people want to join consulting. But for a large period of time, until you make partner, you actually, are below industry in terms of salary base. And we are high at the beginning only to attract you. I'm telling you that. It's a big secret. Why do people want to do consulting when, for like 10, 12, 13, 14, 15 years, you'll be below industry?
Sir, I think in start it looks lucrative, like from outside. We are actually going to teach someone in the industry. That is like, I am very much respected. So that attracts people.
Suryakant, right? Suryakant, this is the way I look at it. It's never about the money. You guys are all bright kids. And you will do well whether you join consulting or whether you join industry. All right. The point is what makes you happy. The constant challenge of consulting that every job you've got to deliver. Or the depth of industry saying, I can go so deep out here and make changes at a ground level, which will, help the company. It's about what really excites you. It's never about the money. I can assure you in 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, the money will stop mattering even to you. All right. Whether you're paid more than industry, less than industry, or, none of that will matter. It's about how much fun you're having. And the reason I call this slide the moolah is that while everyone thinks it's very, good to get into consulting and consulting pays very well, it does in the beginning, but over a long period of time, it's just as good or bad as the rest of the industry. All right. And therefore, don't base your decision on doing consulting or going to industry on the money. That's not important. It will even out eventually. Base your decision of going into consulting on whether consulting actually matters to you. That's one little piece of advice from my side. Okay, if you think I'm going into consulting because I get a higher starting salary, you're making a wrong decision. Understand whether you can be a good consultant, understand whether consulting is fun, then go and take that decision. Okay.
So also because I think it is such an interesting field and such a creative space for people, like you mentioned that during the KBC thing, you're constantly brainstorming for 2 weeks, and it was like so interesting and you had a lot of fun. So I think the people who really enjoy it, they get into consulting first.
If you like that constant challenge,
yeah.
What's your name? Agile, right? Is that right? Agile. Agile. How do I put this? Those 2 weeks were terrifying because we didn't know we would end up solving the problem. It's like studying for an exam. There's a timeline, but will you have studied adequately for that exam? You don't know whether you'll be able to solve the client's problem. It requires a lot of self-confidence and self-belief to say, I'll get there, right? And trust me, there are times when we have not been able to solve the problem, right? And you feel very low at that time. All right.
But the adrenaline rush, it really gets to you, I think.
When you solve the problem and the client looks at you and says, hey, this is outstanding. It's like a high, right? You feel like you've achieved something in life. But there's also that equal thing where the client says, this won't work. And then you feel so low, right? And therefore, I think one very important thing in life, and especially in consulting, is you need to be confident. All right. If you are of low confidence or a very timid person, I would please, with folded hands, request you do not get into consulting. You will get destroyed. Because clients are ruthless. If they don't like what you do, if you can't solve their problems, they will come and say, boss, ye kya kar rahe? Please get out. Like literally, they will tell you that, right? So you need a lot of self-belief and self-confidence if you want to work out here. So if you have it, if you enjoy the challenge, if you want that high, go for it. But if you feel you're low on confidence or whatever, better to stay away from consulting. It's very dangerous. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Moving on. So what's the joys of consulting? It's the variety and it's the challenge. If you like that constant challenge, every morning when you wake up, you're like, within 3 minutes, my mind is on shit. This is what I have to crack today. And if you like that, again, consulting is outstanding. I showed you that slide, with all those client names. Like it's so much variety. It's so tough. One day I'm talking to Saregama about, what they should be doing with their Karma product. And that's at 10 in the morning. At 12, I am talking to someone on an OTT platform. At 3, I am talking to a content production house. At 6, I'm talking to, someone in the out-of-home industry who puts up billboards and digital screens. Having that knowledge to talk sensibly to all those 4 people in the same day, right? And to add value in each conversation to all those guys. It's a challenge. The variety is awesome, but it's a huge challenge to come out of every meeting and, making sure your client is actually happy, right? So I think it's very important that, if you enjoy that variety and you enjoy the challenge, that the variety will come with the challenge, right? So if you enjoy both, please take consulting. You will have a blast. There is no profession like it on earth, I can assure you. But if that variety scares you, if the challenges daunt you, then better to stay away. Industry is also a very good place. It's a lot of fun. All right. It's just, what are you cut out for? Find out. Okay. And what's the sorrows? The performance stress. All right. It is a lot of stress, right? It's not easy to be a consultant. You will have late nights. I was up till 12, 1 o'clock last night on a call. Right. And the client was telling me that, no, these work, these are fine, Ashish, but these 5 things you said, we don't agree with. And, and we were having that discussion, went all the way till 1 o'clock. Right. The performance stress, because I was saying, does the client see enough value? Does the client see value? Is he going to, employ us again? Is he going to come back and say, good job done or not? That performance stress is continuous. It's like an unending stress. And there's the other thing, which is the lack of depth, right? As much as I may be the best consultant on earth, but I will never be as good as, say, the guy who's, producing content 300 days every year. He's a cameraman shooting his, news anchor 300 days in a year. He will know shooting always far better than I ever will. So sometimes you feel, shit, I just don't have the depth, which my clients have. You get that, and then you're like tempted. Shall I go into industry and take a sabbatical of 2-3 years, understand the area better, come back to consulting? If any of you do become consultants, and if you ever feel that way, I strongly urge you to do it. Go. The best career is probably a mix of industry and consulting. Right? In my mind. Don't say I'm going to start as consulting like me and end in consulting like me. That's not right. I don't think that's the right approach. In hindsight, I would say I wish I'd done 10, 15, 20 years in media, in a Star TV or a Disney or a Discovery or whatever, and then move to consulting. I would have been a far better consultant. Okay. I'm just talking my heart out on this one. So there are sorrows over there. So that's the presentation. In conclusion, I have one final ask of you. Would you like to be in consulting? Go ahead, let me know. Oh my God, this is going exactly opposite to what I thought it would go. I give you all the negatives. Hey, Ram. Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, I get the flavor and we can keep going there. So that's it from my side. Any questions? Any thoughts? Did you enjoy the presentation? Did you like it? Yeah? Did you learn something?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Love the presentation.
Yes, sir.
So one question that I would like to ask is, we have got EY as one of our companies and placements that are coming up for placements in HR.
Yeah.
So there's this one point written like 50% of the times you'll have to travel, or you'll have to go out somewhere and stuff like that. So I had this question: are these travels or these tours paid by the company? Like they give
Of
us
course.
the
Yeah, yeah,
reimbursement?
of course. In fact, it's so much fun. You get to travel to amazing places. I have been everywhere from, I don't know, Amsterdam to Dubai to Milestone 120 Kolhapur Pune highway. Correct? The place had no name also, right? Because someone had put up a paper plant over there and we had to go and do some marketing work over there. So, it is, the travel is awesome. I think you go and you always get that one weekend, right? To just go and see the place that you've gone to. And if you like traveling, you can really have a lot of fun. After a while, it gets a bit too much. I'll be honest about that. After 27 years, if I can avoid a trip, I avoid it. I've reached that stage now. But when you're young, it's so much fun. You meet people, you experience different food, culture. It's so much fun. If you like that stuff, you'll enjoy consulting. And travel at 50% is pretty par for the course, if you ask me. Having said that,
Also,
I
so
just met one of my ex-employees this morning. He's joined Television 18 since 2 years. And I asked him, how's it in industry? Now you don't have to travel as much as you used to. He said, he told me, Feru, I have been traveling Monday to Friday for the last 40 weeks because we're doing a large project over here where I have to go to each single channel of TV 18 and work with the local channel guy. So industry also has travel. There you go. Okay.
also, so why do have this people have negative comments about consulting? I mean, up to whatever you have said today, it is like it completely made my perspective to a different thing. So why do people say that consulting is negative, or people fear to
Like I
go
said,
into consulting?
see, there is a job and then there is a person who's doing the job, right? A job is a job. It's not going to change, right? If you come in and expect consulting to be a 9 to 5 profession, only Monday to Friday, where every client will welcome you with open arms, your boss will be an angel straight out of heaven and treat you with love, respect, and empathy, and all those wonderful words that you see and hear, that's not going to happen. That's not life. Correct? So if you go in with a certain expectation that, I will, I am 21 years old and I'm going to go and start consulting, General Electric or, Infosys, that is wrong. I think you set your expectations, you understand, go meet people before you join any company. I strongly urge you to meet 2 to 3 people from that company and ask them, how is it to work in this company? And no company is perfect, not even EY, not anybody. All right, there are issues in every place. If you go and expect everything to be laid out on a platter for you, not going to happen. If you expect that someone will come and help you out every time you're in trouble, not going to happen. Anywhere, not in consulting, not in industry. If you believe that there's no politics and everyone will love you from day one, not going to happen. You've got to build your equity. You've got to build your friends, your peer group. You've got to go and help them. They'll start helping you. You may get friendship. You'll be lucky if you do. And you'll get to learn how to deal with people, internal and external. That's life. Now, if you go and say, oh, consulting sucks because, nobody, helps me and I'm working late every day. That's not consulting sucking. That means you are not cut out for consulting, I would say. Right? So don't worry. There are equal number of people who speak bad about industry as well.
All right, sir.
Okay. I see 2 hands up. I don't know. I'm not tracking hands. So if you have a hand up, please speak.
Yeah, so I just wanted to ask, like, we are freshers in this industry currently, but if we get some task where we have to put in our suggestions, sometimes maybe it will happen that we solely have to do that. How do we get that confidence that we can do it and the answer is right? Okay, sometimes the answer is not correct and that is not what they are expecting from us. How do we deal with that failure? Like, how do we make us understand?
What are the 5 things I told you? What was the first thing?
Knowledge.
Build your knowledge. Have you researched enough? Do you know everything there is to know?
I
What's the
understand.
second point? Partnership. Have you spoken to whoever has the problem? Have you built trust with them? Have you truly understood the problem? Have you brainstormed ideas? Third point, what is it? People skills. Have you gone and have you been able to build that trust with the person so that they're honest with you? You have no idea how many times clients will lie to you on your face. On your face, they will lie, fatak, and you won't even realize it. After you leave, they'll probably go and call their colleague and say, ha ha, I made an ass of this guy completely, right? Verify everything. You need to use these 5 pointers. Have the passion to go and really study, become a specialist, and then only you'll be able to do consulting. So firstly, I would urge you, for everyone who joins EY or McKinsey or whoever, please don't call yourself a consultant until you're 40. Say you work there. Okay, which is not a consultant.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Rahil, your hand is also up. Anything?
Yeah, we can work under someone and become a consultant, basically.
You have to work in industry, or you can work in consulting also. I prefer industry for the first 15 years. Genuinely know how things work. Then you become a consultant, with the knowledge that you get. Yes,
And
Sakshi.
one more doubt.
Huh.
You said about TBC. TBC is thorn banana darobari. So how this is linked to that making calls and 18 questions?
This is like I said, now so you can play along and register on the mobile app of Sony Live or whatever, right? In that time, there were phone calls. There was no app. There was no internet in 1999 when it launched.
Yeah.
September 1999 it launched. There was no app. In
Oh.
fact, I don't know. It was ridiculous. So we had this brainwave during KBC where we said, when someone calls to play, we'll have Amitabh Bachchan welcoming them and saying, KBC mein aapka swagat hai. And that will be an attraction. We opened at 9 p.m. Okay, the lines were opening for participants 9 p.m. At 9 p.m. and 10 seconds, the Noida exchange crashed.
Oh.
No phones could be made in Delhi because the people were calling only to hear Amitabh Bachchan speak to them. It was such a big thing. Right? We had calls coming from the Prime Minister's office saying the Prime Minister is not able to make a phone call. What have you guys done? Those are the things that happen in the real world.
Okay, understand. Thank you, sir.
And so,
Yes,
what were the 3
Sakshi.
questions?
Pardon me?
What were the 3 questions?
3 questions. No, we were getting questions like that. Saying that, the 3 questions.
Yeah.
So you had to put in your age, which was type in a number. Okay. And it's not even type in, but dial, by the way. Tuck, 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 tuck. You had to dial a number. The company you worked with was called DialNet. Okay. The second, you had to say 1 or 2 for male or female. All right. And third, you had to put in your STD. No, STD code was automatically taken from the number you were calling. The third question, if I remember correctly, was age, gender, and there was one more.
City?
Educational qualification. If you were 10th or below, you had to dial 1. If you were 11th to 15th or not postgrad, you had to dial 2. And if you're postgrad, you had to dial 3. With those 3 questions, and it was a matrix. So if you dialed 1, then it would give you something else and something else. It was but only 3 questions you had to answer. And with that, we said, with this, we will give you there are some 26 boxes you have to fill because there are 26 categories in KBC. So with that 3 questions, we could fill up 26 boxes. And then we took this data from the call record and PIN code and, various other things we do. It was a lot of fun.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry, Sakshi, you've been trying for a long time and I keep avoiding you.
Yeah, no problem, sir. I just wanted to know which of your projects you have the best experience in. Like,
Oh,
which
so
of
many.
your projects you have the best experience?
So many. I don't even know where to start. Okay, KBC was fun. Femina Miss India was a lot of fun. I had an all access pass, which means I could go into the ladies' changing room as well, but I didn't. Waste of time, really. The project we did the first project I did at ZTV, which was, looking at their advertising sales, was an awesome project. I learned all my ad sales knowledge over there. Creating operating manuals for Woot. Fantastic project. Okay. Before the IPL launched, I was part of the team that worked with Z and launched something called the ICL. I don't know if you're aware of that. It was called the Indian Cricket League, launched by Z. Exactly what the IPL was modeled on. Exactly. With one change, we had Ahmedabad as a team in the ICL, but they did not have Ahmedabad, they had Hyderabad. Okay. But everything else was the same. The 2020 league, I designed that league. So many, I don't know where to start. I mean, we did a vision for Sony just before COVID, we did a visioning exercise saying what will Sony be in 2025. And one of the things there that came out was they will acquire Z, which is what's happening right now as we speak. Right. So, I mean, helping someone, I don't know. It's just so much fun. I don't know where to start.
Thank you, sir, for sharing.
Anything else?
Sir, do you agree that if you start a startup yourself, like you have the industry knowledge, I mean, every industry you must have studied and you have people's experience as well.
You can't
And
study
you
every
do solve
industry. You will study only one industry.
in general. I mean, if you're solving a problem, a startup is also a kind of solving a problem itself. So
Very true.
if you start some startup, don't you think you will be earning more? So why aren't you driven towards that?
Most startups lose money for the first 10 years.
Yes, sir, they lose, but the reason most probably is because of lack of knowledge, and you do have that. I mean,
Which is why I
consultant.
believe that first you must work in industry, then do the startup. You'll probably break even a lot faster. I
So
will
why
not,
aren't you
I will
driven
do a
towards
startup.
that?
I will at some point do a startup. Karega. Because with so much knowledge that I've gained over 27 years, of which whatever, 24 are in media, there's definitely something I can do in media. I'm sure I will one day, at the right time. I still believe I'm not ready. Can you believe that? Okay, next. Anyone? Okay, I can stop sharing, right? I think we've gone 2/3, 1/3. Okay, not bad. You guys still want to be. All right. Anything else? Any other questions? Yes, Shivam.
Sir, I mean, I'm a big, esports fanatic. So I saw Nordwind Gaming over there. Your
Yep.
recent, it might be a recent project. I mean, because the Nordwind Gaming was established in 2014 or 15, if I'm not wrong, in India. So I mean, and I can see, they are hosting events on TV currently. I mean, they are part of it. So what was, I mean, such a, it is a big success story for such a organization that has been recently been, established. So I wanted to know how that came into force and with such pace it has, grown so forward.
It has a very passionate founder I call Akshat Rathi. Have you heard of him or seen him? He's a gamer himself and very, very passionate about esports. And when it did not exist, he bet his own money and created this. It's a beautiful startup story. They just finished another round of fundraise just a few weeks ago, right? And again, that, it's a different discussion. It's not really consulting, but what Akshat had, I thought was, he had three things. He had a vision. He said that esports is untried, but I know it will do well in India because he understood the psychology of audiences and consumers and said this is something that will get a large audience. So he had that vision. He had tons of hands-on experience in terms of playing games, in terms of building an organization. So he had rolled up his sleeves. He also started in industry. He got his hands dirty and then he did startup, right? That was the other good thing about Akshat. And third, I've rarely met a more passionate man. He doesn't care. Obstacles will come his path, and many have come in his path. He's always surmounted them, right? When BGMI is the biggest esports game, it was banned in India,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Nordwind survived. COVID happened, you couldn't hold physical esports events. Nordwind survived. That man had so much passion, he would figure out a way. My boss once gave me a very important line. He told me that, you can give 1,000 reasons why something can't be done. He's saying nobody's interested. The world is not interested. If you believe it can be done, if you feel you want it to be done, figure a way out. And you'll think creatively and get it done. And I think Akshat kind of embodies that in a startup. Great startup guy. He's a wonderful person. When you start talking to him, you won't stop. I mean, the conversation just go on, and his passion just pours out of every thing that he does. So, and it just the hands-on experience, the passion, is just fantastic, skill sets.
Thank you, sir.
And we should bring that. I mean, I try and bring passion into my projects. I really try, right? It just makes everything so different. Your output changes with passion. if you go and say, oh, this is a process manual, it's so boring, you'll do a shit job.
So
You go and
because
say it's a process manual, but it's an opportunity to change the way this company functions. And then you go about doing that. You'll see the big difference that comes.
so because so follow-up question, because the list of companies or list of media houses you have mentioned, that was only the one gaming company that you have been doing a project.
Many. I've worked with so many. I just put a mix like this. I just created this deck and put some names on it.
Yes.
Worked with Optro, Nodwin, Nazara, MPL, Sony Games. It's all Sony Interactive or something. Then we worked with ABP for its gaming strategy. Many. Galaxy, Razer, Calyx. I don't know how many more. This one also now, no? What's it called? Rise, IMG Reliance, Hotstar Watch and Play, Jeeto Dhan, name it. So much gaming. Cool. Anything else? Yeah. Are we done?
Yes, sir. So, on behalf of the Placement Cell of HR College, I would like to thank Mr. Ashish Pherwani, sir, for conducting this insightful session and engaging with the students. It was really informative and helpful, sir. I would also like to extend a vote of thanks to our principal, Dr. Pooja Ramchandani, and Dr. Naveen Punjabi, the Vice Principal of HR College, for their support and guidance. Students are requested to fill the feedback form present in the chat box. Thank you, everyone, for joining me.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Thank you so much, sir.
Have a good day and all the best in your careers. All the
Thank
best.
you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.